hey, what does it be sexy, beast coast and a shishner? And that's about as enthusiastic as I'm going to get in this commentary, because this is a very serious, deep commentary that I wanted to talk about. It's called Dealing with Death, and I'm no way profiting from this video. I have disabled monetization and everything like that from this video because I'm not about that life, and this is just a very serious commentary. I just wanted to talk about dealing with death and my very limited experiences with it. I was really reluctant to make this video because it's a serious thing, and it's just also I wanted to get it off my chest, but I didn't want you guys to get kind of the wrong idea, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to be talking about dealing with the death of my grandma here in this video, and kind of the whole story going along with that, and how it made me feel, and what happened, and kind of the fallout and everything like that, if you could call it fallout. But I'm going to get right into it. So it all started the day after Mother's Day. So this was May 12th of this year, and we got called down by my grandma's roommate to go to the hospital because she needed emergency surgery right away. Her stomach pain was so incredibly intense that she couldn't even move or get up out of bed or something like that. And so her roommate contacted us because my grandma asked her to, and we all went down in the emergency room. I was with my stepdad and my I was with my stepmom, my dad, and obviously myself and other members of my family, uncles and aunts and whatnot. So we get going down there, and it's probably 4 or 5 p.m. by the time we get there, and it's a really serious thing. My dad was driving pretty fast. Obviously, he's worried about his mom and everything. So we get there, and we're in the emergency room, kind of waiting with everybody. We wait for several hours, and they eventually come out. The surgeon's like, look, she'll be out in a minute, but here's what we found. So we did a CAT scan, and we found a bunch of lumps in her chest, in her colon and everything like that, in kind of her abdomen area. They found a bunch of kind of white lumps and everything. That's what they look like on a CAT scan. And so he's like, yeah, it doesn't look very good and everything. We just removed the main lump, but because of her religion, she couldn't have got a blood transfusion, so they couldn't have removed more lumps because her religion disagrees with, she was a Jehovah's Witness, and her religion disagrees with blood transfusions and stuff like that, so they could only do very limited surgery with the lowest amount of blood loss so that they could, you know, obviously keep her alive without needing to do a blood transfusion. Now, anyway, so they do the surgery, they remove the massive lump, kind of blocking her colon and blocking the flow of everything like that, causing her an intense stomach pain and everything like that, obviously debilitating. So he tells us that news. He'll be like, she'll be out in 15, 20 minutes. We wait another 15, 20, even almost 30 minutes. I don't even know, but it took extremely long, or just felt like it took extremely long. And they wheeled her out and everything. She was barely conscious at all. And then she's kind of out there for a little bit, and then they wheel her into her room where she's staying, and they kind of made us come in, you know, one at a time. And we're really anxious, you know, we're just kind of sitting there leaning against the walls. And my dad and his brothers went in, my uncles. They went in first to go and kind of see her and comfort her, because there was like there was like 10 of us there, 10 to 15 of us there, her immediate family. And we wanted to go see her, but we couldn't all storm in at once because that would, you know, overwhelm her and everything like that. That's what the doctor said. And so he kind of told everybody in the group, like I said, about the CAT scan and everything, and what he did and what he couldn't do and stuff like that. Like I mentioned, we go in there, we see her, I hold her hand, and, you know, we all tell her that we love her and everything like that. And we hang out there for a little bit more as they talk to her, and then we go home. Now, with that kind of thing, we didn't know what it was at first. We didn't know what it was. Obviously, it looked pretty bad. The surgeon said, look, based on this, you know, CAT scan alone and the surgery I just performed, I would give it 3 months. I would give her 3 months to a year to live. So when it comes to this, he was like 3 months to a year, and this kind of thing. So we went home and everything like that. We got home really late, 11:30, 12. I don't even know, but I pretty much just went straight to bed. It didn't really matter, schoolwork or anything like that. I dealt with it the next day. Nothing was really important, just going to sleep, getting as much sleep as I could, and just thinking about this whole situation. Now, it came down to it, and about 5 days, a week later, they ended up getting the test results, and they found out that it was colon cancer in the stage 4. So stage 4 is most likely terminal. It's very, very bad, and it's very rare that people actually survive stage 4 cancer when it gets that bad. And the thing is, it was all throughout her abdomen, kind of in her liver a little bit, and I'll get into that later, but just absolutely horrible thing, because she hadn't gone to the hospital earlier with this kind of knowledge about all this stomach pain and everything because she didn't have health insurance. And this is why you guys need health insurance when you're older, because she didn't want to go to the hospital because it's too damn expensive, and she didn't have health insurance. And so she's like, oh, it's just a stomach cramp, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'll just blow it off. It's okay. Now, obviously, I'm not putting any blame on my grandma. I'm just saying what happened. So, because, you get in situations like that, and I understand, tight budgets. I understand not being able to afford stuff, and that's completely reasonable. Anyway, so he comes to a little bit later. We get that diagnosis, and one of the days, I was sitting outside with my dad, and we ended up talking about it, because he was just, I don't know, he's having a rough day at work, and so, I just kind of look at him, and I'm like, are you okay? I'm about to fucking cry right now, but he tears up, and he has kind of, he's just letting out his emotions, because he hasn't let his emotions out most of this time. He's remained very serious, very kind of, like this. And obviously, they were crying the night when it happened, of the surgery anyway. So, he busts into tears, and I start comforting him and everything like that. And so does his friend who was living with us, and so does another roommate we had at the time. It was really complicated. We had 2 roommates at the time. Absolutely horrible idea. One of them was a family friend going through some shit, and the other one was a family friend of my stepmom going through some shit as well. So anyway, they were both living with us, and we all kind of comforted him and just told him it was okay to let it out, process his emotions, because he kind of let out a little bit of rage at the surgeon. And this is completely, I don't really agree with it. I never really agreed with it, but it's one of the stages of grief. It's one of the stages of, he would say that, his mom's going to die. He's like, my mom's going to die, and it's horrible. And so he didn't take any really credibility towards what the surgeon was saying, because he's like, hey, he's just a surgeon, he just cuts stuff out of people. And my thought process was, yes, he is just a surgeon, and he does cut stuff out of people, but the thing is, Dad, is that he spent years in this medical field. He knows a lot about this, and they obviously got the results back and everything like that, so it's not just his words. And they ended up seeing 2 oncologists, which are cancer specialists, and kind of getting a diagnosis from them. Wasn't very good either. This is months later, but the surgeon thing happened, I don't know, a few weeks to a month after the quote incident happened with the surgery. So he kind of let out a little bit of emotions, and that's perfectly okay, but he still never took the surgeon's word to heart, and I don't blame him for that, because that, like I said, this is one of the stages of grief. And I was like, look, with all these lumps and everything like that, and they're spread throughout this, if he says it's 3 months to a year, it's probably 3 months to a year, because it's not that likely that you'll survive, stage 4 in general, and that that when it's spread this far, because it's okay, and it's possible to treat cancer if it's contained. It's possible to treat it if it's in a local area. But if it's spread to your abdomen, I think it even got to her lymph nodes and everything like that, then it's really, really unlikely and almost impossible to completely eradicate the cancer, because at this point, we couldn't even do chemo, couldn't really do radiation. Obviously, she didn't want to do that either, because immediately after the surgery, she was strong. She felt great and everything like that. She could move. She was doing gardening and stuff like that at her house. But then a little bit later, it kind of stopped. Obviously, she could still walk around and everything like that, but her movement was still restricted. Now, we ended up going to see her several times, and as well, she ended up coming to see us when we went camping and everything like that. I told the story about that the weekend where I threw up. But anyway, so we saw her a lot. We saw her as much as we could, pretty much. And it came to the beginning of August. Now, the beginning of August is where things really, really got bad. And obviously a lot of time has passed since then, almost 3 months since the original surgery, and all this stuff's unfolding with going to the oncologist. And most of my parents dealt with this, dealing with her estate and stuff like that. It's really not that important. What is important is what happened and kind of the aftermath. So they end up, she ends up getting jaundice, and jaundice is basically an infection of the liver, I believe, where something's wrong with it. There's fatty tissue, there's too much fatty tissue, and your skin turns yellow and your eye whites turn yellow as well. And now, when I say yellow, I don't mean like slightly yellow, I mean yellow. It was extremely bad. It was so bad seeing her in this kind of situation, because she was yellow, and her eyes were yellow and kind of greenish. And it was just really hard to see her that way, just being bedridden, yellow, and just completely sad. So we end up kind of going up there. Man, about a week and a half, 2 weeks before everything set in, and she could not get out of bed no matter what, and she was completely doped up. But I'll get into that. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm all over the place. It's a lot, and it's a lot on my mind, and it's a lot that I want to talk about, and I still have a lot to talk about. So anyway, she ends up getting jaundice, and we got to see her, and we end up enjoying kind of a meal with her. She's like, hey, can you go to this place? Can you get this? For me, I want some gravy and stuff like that. And we end up kind of going there, and we enjoy the meal with her. It's a fantastic meal from a local diner that she really liked. We brought it right to her, and we just kind of had it out there, had some fun, talked about some stuff. My dad and her wanted to talk about some drama because my family was just dealing with some drama at the time, and it's just absolutely stupid and ridiculous. So my stepmom and I go leave while my dad and my grandma talk about that. We come back inside. We kind of talk a little bit more. I tell her that I love her, and we end up leaving. Now, I think that's the last time that I really talked to her, and the last time that I really got to tell her I love her. And, I didn't think it would be the last, but I knew that at this point she wouldn't have much longer. So we end up going back there. I remember going up there on August 4th, and we go to her house and everything like that. She is now on hospice care, hospice in-home care, not where they watch you 24/7 and wait till you kind of pass and everything like that, but when they, are there every once in a while. They make sure you're getting your medication, your pain pills. She had a bunch of pills. She had a bunch of medication for mostly pain because they couldn't really do anything about the actual infection and the cancer. She thought that eating healthy and doing all this other stuff like that, living a healthy lifestyle, would be able to reverse the process, and that's not very likely. It's not very possible, and it's just hard, man. So we do that. She gets hospice care. Like I said, I come up on the 4th, and I drive by myself, and it was a motion-filled drive. And I get there, and she's out. She's out cold. She's in the hospice bed. They got that all set up for her. And my dad and my stepmom have been there, for like a week and a half at this point. They were there for a while when this whole thing kind of unfolded on and off. But then they just ended up staying because they knew, and the hospice told them that she didn't have much left. And they're talking, it could be tonight. It could be, tomorrow night, whatever. So she doesn't have much left. And I'm like, look, I need to come out. I need to go see her. And I tried to get my brother to go with me, but he didn't want to see her in this condition. But he ended up going up on August 5th to see her, and that was absolutely fantastic. Now, the sad thing is that she was incoherent most of the time. And what that means is basically she's passed out. She didn't really know what's going on because she's on all this medication. They were just giving her a bunch of medication because she was in so much pain and completely bedridden, jaundice, the whole nine. So she's laying in this hospice bed. They're giving her all this medication, and I come up on the 4th, and I come see her, and, my dad's sitting there with his hand on her, and, I'm hanging out with my dad a little bit. We ended up talking. He wasn't obviously in the best of moods, but he seemed content with it, I want to say. He didn't seem, and he didn't seem, completely angry or anything like that. He just kind of sat there and obviously, sad and thinking about a lot of stuff, had a lot on his mind, but he seemed content with it because he knew that it was going to happen and there was really nothing any of us could do at this point, and that was the worst part. So he does that. He's holding her hand and everything, and I'm talking to him. I'm trying to comfort him, telling everything's, going to be all right, and, obviously it's going to happen, but everything's going to be all right. So I end up holding her hand as well. Just to comfort her, and, we'd pulse hands a little bit, but she rarely would, obviously reciprocate that because when she was out, but she pulsed, I think, one time, and it might have just been a reaction from a dream or something like that, but she was barely awake when I got there. As hospice left, she was awake just a little bit to swallow pills, and, I said hi. She kind of looked around a little bit, and then she was back to sleep and kind of back out. And that was really the last time that I talked to her. But it wasn't really a conversation, like I said. The last conversation was when we had that meal. Anyway, guys, I'm repeating myself. I'm sorry. But, if you're watching this video, you probably understand and kind of get it. So we do that. I comfort my dad. And then I stay there for a little while. And then my stepmom gets there. And then I head out. And, I make sure that I'm there for my dad and I'm there for my stepmom and everything like that. But I made sure that I was there for her as well, that she knew I was there and that I could, see her at least one last time before it happened. Now, I wanted to go up on August the 6th. Like I said, my brother went up on the 5th, but my parents didn't want me to because it was just my brothers, and it was the same situation she's exactly been in, and it was very serious family stuff there. You know, my dad and his two brothers were there for her all night long and everything, just constantly there. And so several days later, it happens. And I don't want to give you guys a specific date, but she ends up passing to this cancer. And it's hard, man. I don't really know, because the thing is, like I said, it happened about 3 months. 3 months after she was diagnosed, not really diagnosed, but kind of diagnosed. 3 months after she went in for surgery. And the fucking horrible irony about that being the day after Mother's Day is just ridiculous. Like, happy Mother's Day. You have surgery and now you have cancer. So I had a lot of time to process my emotions. I had a lot of time to kind of deal with things. And they stayed at the house, so it was mainly just me at my house dealing with the situation, because they were out there with her, obviously. And I'm talking about my dad and my stepmom, because that's who I live with. So they were out there when the whole thing happened and everything. And I get a call in the morning and a voicemail. It's like, hey, call me back. It's important. And I knew, man, at this call, if they called me at 6 in the morning, I knew exactly what happened. So I call, I kind of get the update. And the thing that my stepmom said was that she's like, look, you know, she passed this morning, but she passed very peacefully. You know, she was very doped up. She was on medication. And right before it happened, you know, she let out this huge smile. And that's the way, you know, she went out. And that's how it happened. And so the phone call itself, the news didn't really shock me. It didn't really, you know, provoke emotion right there. But I've let out, you know, I cried when I was up there on the 4th, and some other times in between there on the drive, and just randomly, you know, really, I'm about to right now. It just really didn't happen right when she called me, because I had this kind of feeling of content, and not really relief, but if that makes sense, but kind of the anxiety is over. The kind of, oh God, when is she going to be done with this pain? When is this kind of pain and everything going to leave her, that it's been with her for, you know, a year and a half? I don't even know. I'm not her. I don't know. So when they told me the news, I wasn't happy. Obviously, I wasn't fucking happy. But I was like, well, look, she doesn't have to suffer anymore. She doesn't have to suffer through any of this anymore. And I don't really believe in an afterlife or anything like that. But I hope she's found her God. And I hope that either way, she's in a better place. And what I say by that is she was dealing with a lot. She was dealing with a lot of pain, a lot going on in her life. And when she smiled at the end there, obviously I wasn't there to see it, but she was no longer in that pain. It's all gone. Just completely wiped away in an instant. And that's the best. That's the only silver lining I can think of in this whole situation. The hardest part has been, you know, not only dealing with it, not being able to see her again. And that's rough, because I was never the closest with my grandma, and I'm not going to pretend like I am, but just, I'm really close with my dad, and he was obviously really close with her because, you know, she was his mom, is his mom still, regardless. And just seeing my dad go through that and seeing everything like that has been absolutely the difficult part, right? Losing my grandma is one thing, but seeing my dad lose his mom is a whole other thing. I can't fathom it. And obviously I'm tearing up right now. But what I want to say, guys, dealing with death, it can be random. It can be drawn out. It can be known. It can be fucking just out of nowhere, out of left field. But this was something that we knew. We had months and months to deal with it, process it, and so did my dad and everything like that. And I can't even fathom losing my mom or my dad or my brother or anything like that. Any of my brothers. No. But what I do know is that it happens. And like I said, it can be random or it can be drawn out. The only silver lining is she's no longer in pain. And I had months, and everybody kind of had months to come to terms with it, no longer be in denial, deal with this. And yeah, this is why I was reluctant to make that video, because it's a fucking hard thing. All right, it is, man. I don't even know. I'm no fucking expert. I'm not gonna pretend like I am. But it's okay to go through these stages, the stages of grief. I'll link them in the description below, as always. Because everybody will deal with death, and everybody's going to handle it differently. And if you can come to terms with it, and if you can accept it, and move on, and live a better life, knowing that that person is in a better place regardless, and that they know, or maybe they don't know, I don't care, that you're in a better place, and that you're doing better, and that you will be okay, and that everything will be okay. So, I'm not going to give the cliche bullshit, live every day like it's your last. What I'm going to say is spend as much time with family as you can. Cherish the time you spend with your family. And after they're gone, if you see them go, I mean, maybe you go first. I don't fucking know. Remember the good things. Only remember the good things. The bad things, they don't matter. They really don't. Once a person is gone, what's the point of being mad? What's the point in keeping these things against that person? And I don't keep anything against my mom, anything against my grandma, or stuff like that. Because the bottom line, they were there for me. They were good to me, and I love them. So, anyway, guys, I just want to get this off my chest. I love you. And bye.